We'd like to kick off first with just there's any new employees that you guys would like to introduce in your area or department and welcome them to the community as a whole. So just a moment to introduce new employees.
I got one. I'd love to introduce Kevin Brown. Kevin is our new Senior Director of Admissions. He has had a wealth of experience in higher education and comes to us from Green Hills. It's a private high school in Ann Arbor, and so we're thrilled to have Kevin, and you probably know his son, Josh Riddick, who's a senior this year as well. So welcome, Kevin.
Any others? Great. Well, welcome today to SAPA. We have President Ellis and the full cabinet here today to share a few updates and answer any questions that you guys may have. And then Kopicko will be here to share devotions with us. So I'd like to just kick us off with a moment of prayer real quick, and then we'll jump right in with President Ellis. So if you please bow. Father, we come before you today just excited to be here, excited to see the sun. To come to a space where we can just be together and enjoy each other's presence for a little bit is a gift. We appreciate the ability to be together and to just share a moment and recognize all that you're doing through this university and all that you are accomplishing. Pray that you continue to work through us, work through this university, and really empower us to do the work that you've called us to do. We may pray. Amen. All right, I'd like to welcome President Ellis to give us 3 updates.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. I think we have almost all of the members of the cabinet here, and then if not, I think we have representation from different areas. And so before we get into the particulars of the question and answer, there was one thing I wanted to walk through with you. Is it up? It's loading. I wanted to share a little bit of some research that was done over the course of the last couple of months with the Hanover Research Group. Hanover Research Group is a very reputable firm that allows us to begin to look at how people in our particular inquiry pool view us and helps us determine and think through pricing strategies and then yield strategies. And so you can think about where we are within our enrollment process right now. The enrollment process comes and you build applicants, and at some point in time that scale kind of tips where you begin to start really concentrating on yielding the individuals that are in the applicant pool. And we've last 5-6 years now, we've been continuing to follow the trend line of the Michigan population. In fact, we went through a budget presentation the other day. We saw that since 2010, Michigan's population has decreased by 15%. Since 2010, Spring Arbor University's enrollment has decreased by 15%. So we're following that trend line. So we got to figure out how do we buck that trend line. And so one of the things that we've done is change the manner and way in which we are attempting to build that inquiry pool. And I think what we see in this research is some exciting things. So I wanted to share it with you, walk through some of this thing, and then we'll open it up for questions. Not all related to enrollment. You can ask about anything you'd like to, but I wanted to share some of these things. And so one of the measurements that they looked at was this question: what's the most important aspect of higher education for you? And so it's for within our inquiry pool, one of the things that obviously jumped out significantly for us is that almost 30% of those that were in our inquiry pool articulated that the Christian affiliation in a spiritual community is one of the most important factors in their choice for enrolling at Spring Arbor University. Now, part of what I want to do is contrast a little bit of this with a StayMates survey, before we go to the next slide, a StayMates survey that we did maybe 6 years ago, where we did a similar attempt to try to look at a price sensitivity survey. Gary, you'll remember the findings of that, and what they showed us was that whether we charge $7,000 or $17,000 or $27,000 or $37,000, it didn't really make a whole lot of difference what we would charge. We would yield the same amount of students because the majority of the individuals that were in that pool, like we said, 16,000 names to staymates, the majority of the individuals in that pool really didn't know who we were or what we were about. And so one of the things to contrast with in this, we sent 10,000 names to them on this one. You'll begin to see some of the things that they articulate back to us. So Christian affordability, or Christian affiliation, spiritual community, and then availability of desired major, and then the third is cost of attendance. And so I want you to concentrate on those three pieces: Christian affordability, Christian affiliation, availability of desired major, and cost of attendance, coupled with financial aid, which I think both speak to the idea of cost and value, right? Let's go to the next one, Sarah, if you would. These were the ways that individuals then ranked things that were very important. So the dark blue is very important. The light blue is important. The kind of gray scale would be neutral. The pink would be not important, and the red would be, I don't even think about it, right? And so if you look at this, it's kind of interesting. You see financial aid and cost of attendance really being the ones that they articulate as some of the most important, again, characteristics of what they're going to look. What's going to determine your coming to the institution? Third, career placement in the area of study or acceptance into graduate school. And so the outcome of what they're going to get from their college experience. The fourth, then, Christian affiliation and spiritual community. And so again, I want you to keep in mind the top two here have to do with, I would say, affordability issues. The third one down would have to do with our academic rigor and our outcomes. And the fourth would have to do with who we are as a Christ-centered institution. Let's go to the next slide. Here is how we then measure up compared to some of our competitors. Okay, so based upon, so this is not, back when I was at the faculty, I shared some of this with the faculty, and I had a couple of faculty members prior to the meeting say, I'm not sure about the validity of this because academic reputation, look at Calvin, look at Hope, those are strong academic institutions. And so, again, I had to make the point to them, this is not actually measuring true academic rigor and reputation. This is measuring the perception of our inquiry pool of academic reputation. So it's very valid. It's extremely valid. It doesn't mean that we can say we have a greater academic rigor than Hope. What it means is that people in our pool believe that to be true. So 46% of the individuals in our pool would say that we have a great academic reputation. And so you compare that to 23% of the people in our pool from Calvin, 27% at Hope, Grand Valley, Cornerstone at 8%. Availability of desired major, and I think this is really kind of an interesting thing because if you compare it to Grand Valley State, which is an institution that would have a much broader array of academic disciplines available and academic majors available than what we would have, we still rank higher than Grand Valley State, so 47% compared to 34%. Cost and affordability. I think this is another one of those things where you look at it and say, okay, this is interesting. So you look at Hope and Calvin, 5 and 6%, Cornerstone at 15%, and we are more affordable than Hope and Calvin. We're in the same ballpark as Cornerstone, but we really, if you look at Grand Valley and Eastern Michigan, we are in our inquiry pool, we're looked at as the second most affordable choice within the mix that we have presented to them to consider. Location, again, we rank very high. Extracurricular programs and athletics, again, we're very high, almost to the same level as Eastern or Grand Valley, which would be institutions that have a much broader array of things along those lines. campus facilities, we rank significantly higher than any other institution in this competitor mix. If you work in our science building and in our science labs, you have to ask that question when you think about what Hope or Calvin has. But then look at the spiritual community. And this is the one that I think really jumped out to me. Spiritual community, 76% of those in our inquiry pool would rank us as a very strong spiritual community, compared to 12% at Calvin, 23% at Cornerstone, 10% at Hope. So one of the things I think that's really kind of fun to look at within this table is the fact that what we have been articulating as our value proposition for the last 18 months or so is beginning to really infiltrate and make sense to those in our inquiry pool. So go to the next slide. These are the three pieces that we really hit hard in the value proposition over the course of those last several months, that last 18 months. Strong academic rigor, professional preparation, unapologetic commitment to Christ, and the fact that we're a great value. And so some of the pieces that we use to cast that vision is we are able to go and show our placement rates. We're able to, in fact, this last, where's Chad Melton? Is Chad in here? Oh, it's career week, so he's doing exactly what we need with it. But Chad Melton and Kim Hayworth, I know Kim is out in California today. The last graduation survey that we received, 95, is that right? About 95% of our graduates at the November commencement said they knew exactly, that they were doing exactly what they desired to do upon graduation, whether that was moving into a job or whether that was going into grad school. Okay? So we were able to show and demonstrate the great opportunities that our students have as they come and prepare for a discipline, or they prepare for a profession, or they prepare for graduate school. And so even to make this statement, and this, it's fun to be able to demonstrate this with data, for us to be able to say, regardless of what you want to study, we have to have the discipline, but regardless of what you want to study, you'll be hard pressed to find an institution that will do a better job at preparing you for what you want to do in the future than Spring Arbor University. So if it's medicine, last 10 years, we're at 99% placement in the medical school. Our CPA professionals, we passed the CPA exam twice the national average. Our teacher education students are hired at a rate that is far greater than any of our competitors. We go discipline by discipline by discipline to show that strong academic rigor and this professional preparation is there. Unapologetic commitment to Christ is something that our campus demonstrates exceedingly well. And that's who we are. It's who we are. So we don't want to back away from that. We want to continue to make that case and make that strong. And when you come here, all you get is a piece of paper that qualifies you for a role in the world's economy, that we've not done our job. What you need to get right along with that professional preparation and that academic rigor is a development of growth spiritually, so that you can go out as an ambassador of Christ. And then the great value. And so the return on the investment. And so even the fact that, to be able to say, the Economist magazine this last November, looking at the federal scorecard data that just began to be gathered for institutions of higher education across the whole nation, when they looked at the value of a college degree and how much a particular degree was worth 10 years after graduation, and they ranked all of the institutions of higher education nationally, but in Michigan, they broke that out and said, in Michigan, Spring Arbor University is the second most valuable degree in the entire state, behind Kettering University. Ahead of Michigan, ahead of Michigan State, ahead of Hope, ahead of Calvin, ahead of Hillsdale. And if you look at private Christian higher education, we rank as the #1 value in the entire region. So if you want to find a private Christian school that has a better return on the investment, you have to go to Nebraska. That's where you got to go to find it. You got to go all the way to Nebraska if you want to find an institution that ranks better than Spring Army University on the return on the investment. So how valuable is your, I'm sorry, Wheaton, we beat Wheaton, we beat Taylor, we beat Taylor. Spring Arbor is a great value. And so to be able to go and say, here are the things that we go, strong academic rigor and preparation, an unapologetic commitment to Christ, and a fantastic value with great return. So if you go back one slide. That's what we're saying, right? And so look again at this, what are our people in our inquiry pool saying about us? They're saying those things, right? They're articulating those very things. That who we are, we have a strong academic reputation. Our spiritual community is profound. And we are affordable. Even to the same level as a Grand Valley or an Eastern. So they're seeing that and they're understanding that. Now let's jump up. So what we're seeing then on the results of this, so for on campus, again, you can't count anybody until you see they are on our campus in September, right? But at this point in time, this year, our campus visits are at an all-time high. So you track and you look at how many people have come to visit campus this year. It is far greater than last year and way more than our 3-year average. Now, I don't know if I could even say, is it a record now? Are we on a record pace right now? It's hard to say.
As far as we know.
As far back as we can go and count and get those records, we're at an all-time high in campus visits, which is great because what we know is we yield about 40% of people that come to visit campus. They come to visit campus. It's almost a 50-50 shot of whether they're going to be able to come. So we want them to come. We need them to come to campus. Our applications right now are ahead of last year. We're still trailing on our 3-year average, but we are ahead of where we were last year. Now again, we did a little bit of tweaking, the manner and way in which we go through the process. We moved from one vendor to another, so we knew the applications overall would be down from our 3-year average, but what we wanted to see was an uptick from the year prior, which we are. And this third measurement, again, I think is one that's important for us to know, that our deposits are still ahead of last year, and they're significantly ahead of our 3-year average. So those are all positive things about what we're seeing for our campus enrollment. We've got a lot of work to do. But that gives hope, right? That gives hope. Online, what we're seeing is that some of our programs are surpassing expectations, and I'll say that they're surpassing the expectations exponentially. There are a couple programs that are really doing well online. There are some programs that are struggling online, and we need to figure out ways to boost those other programs. But overall, right now, we have more students enrolled online than what we have budgeted, and actually it's the one area, while we're seeing our campus go down, we're not quite at 15% drop on campus. So think about 15% drop for Michigan residents over the last, since 2010. On campus, we're not quite down that level. At the sites, we're down greater than that level, but online, we're actually growing. Online is the one program that we have, the one delivery system that we have right now that is growing. We'd like to see it grow more, but that's what we see. So then at the sites, we're still falling behind budgeted targets. It continues to be a challenge for us at the sites. And so what we're doing is we're ensuring that our curriculum is strong. Like the move that we made a couple years back where we took the curriculum and we put it underneath the schools to ensure that what we have in the sites is strong and viable curricularly. But we have to continue to assess the programs that are out there. Are they meeting the need? And sometimes what we find within higher education is that enrollment in a discipline is cyclical. And so for a time, it makes a lot of sense to invest resources and time and energy in a particular discipline. When that runs its course, there's got to be a time where you say, we need to move on to something else. And so we have to make sure that we're taking time to assess those programs, and then we need to begin to experience growth. And I think we're at a place where I'm hopeful that what we have in place with our new executive directors and the new enrollment team that we're building out the sites, we'll begin to see those things. So, is that it? Okay. So here's my request to you. Here's my request to you. Made a similar appeal to our faculty on Tuesday. And that is, for campus, right now we're beginning to move into that stage where applications, the rate of applications coming in will begin to flatten out and actually begin to decline. Doesn't mean that we'll have fewer applications, but the rate of applications coming in to Spring Arbor University will continue to go down as people make choices of where they're going to go next year. Which means that our efforts have to shift from building the applicant pool to yielding individuals from the applicant pool. And here's an opportunity that I think is available for us as a university to come alongside and partner with those in our enrollment team. And that is, for instance, tomorrow. We have a group of students that will be on campus tomorrow visiting. How many do we, Sarah, do you know how many we have? Malachi,
50.
We have 50 students that will be on campus visiting tomorrow. Many of you will have an opportunity to interact with them. Right? Just so it could happen that you find a way and a connection that is unique and different with a particular person. If those things happen, here's what I would ask you to do. Contact the enrollment office. Find out a little bit more about that student and see if there's some ways that you can help in following up and reaching out to the students that you have a particular connection with. So our faculty, for instance, one of the things that they're going to be doing is somebody comes in and expresses interest in business. There's going to be a faculty member from the School of Business that begins to then have dialogue with that particular student. And we've been doing that in the business office all year long, or not business office, business, School of Business. All right, we have some really neat stories. So Randy Lewis, if you ever see Randy Lewis, ask him about a couple of the students that he's been in text conversations with, where he has tipped the scale for them in coming to Spring Arbor University. It's a fantastic thing. And so our enrollment team is working hard. They're dedicated. They're calling. I get printout information every week to see they're calling hundreds of students. They're emailing. They're texting. They're on Facebook. They're doing all sorts of things to keep in touch and to help sell Spring Arbor University to this next class. But we really are at a point and a moment where we need to begin to yield these students. They know us. They love us. The things they say about us are exactly what we say we do. Strong academic rigor, unapologetic commitment to Christ for a great value and a great return on the investment. That's what they say about us. So they know us and they want us. We're moving into that season where now we need to begin to start yielding them. And so if there's a way in which you could see yourself aiding our enrollment team in that process, make yourself available. Please make yourself available. So either contact Malachi or Kevin or Caitlin or any of the other enrollment team members. Reach out to them and say, hey, I have a good connection with this particular student. And if there's a way that if I could write a note, or if I could make a phone call, or if I could send a text, I'd be happy to do that. Any touch at this point in time from any one of us can be powerful in helping make the determination for a student to come and enroll at Spring Arbor University. So I invite you to come and be a participant in that. Doesn't mean they have to force it. Doesn't mean that you have to carry a burden to say, I got to find a way to do this. But if it comes naturally and it makes sense, I encourage you to take advantage of that. So those are positive things. But it's important for us to now get to the point where we can yield them and bring them in a way that gets us back on track towards some growth. So good. Any questions on that? Yeah.
Most of us aren't going to be coming in any contact with these students tomorrow, but maybe we do know somebody that's going to be here, but we really don't know if they're even here on campus. Is there any way for admissions to let the staff know that here's a list of students, their name and city where they're from, or something like that? So we have, just look down the list and say, oh, you know what, I think I might know that person, and then do something about it. Otherwise, I mean, I've had people that have come here from Asbury, different places, and I've known them, but I didn't know they were here until I saw it on Facebook the next day.
Yeah.
And maybe their parents too, because we might know the parents, but we don't know the child's.
Caitlin, is there a way that we could get the students that will be on campus tomorrow and share that with our community?
I'll let Mel sign.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think through the best form of dissemination on that. What would make sense, and then I'm not aware of any privacy issues, but I would want to just double check to make sure we wouldn't step on anything. But I think it's just a matter of finding the best method to post that somewhere that it would be accessible.
Yeah, maybe that's the best way, is to be able to post it on the portal. Sure. In some way that people could then go and have access to that information, or a community tab or something along those lines. And we take a look at that, that'd be great. Sure. That'd be great. Well, yeah.
Last year, when you guys filmed the videos and kind of reached out to specific students, kind of for that happened all coaches or speaking leaders, anybody set it up.
I know I've been filming 10 to 12 videos every week or every other week, going out to certain students where I'm, saying, Steve, I know you're not, and talking, saying, come to Spring Arbor. I know this is going to be the place for you. So either encouraging them to visit or encouraging them to deposit, depending upon where they are. Are there other videos that are being planned or being implemented at this point in time, or is it primarily the ones that I'm shooting?
I mean, we have more general messages about Spring Arbor. That's probably the best example of one that's individualized and personalized to the particular student, though.
So in that situation, what takes place is that each of the enrollment officers have an opportunity to choose a person within their pool that would get a personal video from me, and I'm not sure exactly how effective it is, but I know there are a lot of anecdotes of individuals that are, in fact, the last visit day we had a young lady from Warsaw, Indiana, who was not going to come to even visit campus, but through the video decided, I'm going to come visit campus. My understanding is we're now top on her list. She deposited, or she just says we're top on her list?
I don't think they're deposited yet, but the dad pulled me aside and was just really impressed with how caring we've been throughout the process, and he shared a couple of the instances to where, like, the video, it ended up moving them beyond the point of just hypothetically considering to, we got to at least visit since they've invested this much time in us. We want to go and check them out.
So the campus visit has put us to the point where we're top on her
Yes.
list of consideration. And that's the thing. I mean, if the students come and visit campus, that's the best way for them to really understand what makes us unique and different. And we are unique and different, but we have to figure out ways to help people understand that. So so that's why I love the fact that our inquiry pool knows us. And I love the fact that our campus visits are so high compared to past years. Now we're at that spot where we got to begin to yield. We've got to be able to bring them in. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about how that inquiry pool was selected?
Well, there are individuals who have either been put in our system by, like, so for instance, say you know of a donor whose granddaughter is going to come to age and going to begin to consider a place like Spring Arbor University. You put them in the inquiry pool. That's one way that the inquiry pool is built, is that that you all, because you know, so my wife and I, it's kind of funny about once, every other month we start going through all of our friends. Okay, who's got a kid that's going to start coming? Who can we start sending in and start, make sure that they're getting information. So you can add to the inquiry pool in that way through your own contacts. But then the inquiry pool is then built through a variety of means of, our wellspring groups that are out, or connection with youth pastors and churches, the mailers that we do, our Facebook posts, our social media aspect, and then we also utilize what we're using this year is a group called Noel Lovitz, and they are reaching out to individuals that fit and meet certain profile characteristics, so that what we're trying to do is instead of sending out names to individuals that may or may not want a Spring Arbor University experience, we try to do something on the front end to assess whether they would be a fit. So for instance, if they're interested in, if they've done missions, gone on a missions trip before, or they're involved in a youth group, or they go to a Christian school, or some of those types of characteristics, we can begin to sort them on the front end and begin to build the inquiry pool based on that. And then there are a lot of people that opt in on that on their own. And so as they are taking the ACT or the SAT, they can say, I want this score to go to this institution. And so those individuals then you build the inquiry. So I think we have, this survey went out to 10,000 people within our inquiry.
I think the important distinction there is we differ from some other schools that would define an inquiry as even a purchase name, that they're going out into ACT and saying, we're going to buy 10,000 names and we're going to consider them someone who is within our inquiry pool. We consider someone as a hand raiser, somebody who's expressed interest within Spring Arbor, within some sort of either a wellspring visit, somebody fills out a card, high school visit that our reps are traveling out, or through a process where we're marketing specifically to them and communicating to them, and then they essentially opt into saying, yeah, send me some more information about Spring Arbor. So we're targeting tens of thousands of people, but those aren't considered our inquiries because they're not the truest sense of a hand raiser. We want them to express interest in us before we would consider them someone who's seriously considering us, which I think is a big reason why those survey results are a bit different than what they used to be as well. Is that key definition change that we're trying to pre-qualify as much as possible and make sure that we're really the funnel isn't all about top end heavy trying to get as many people through, but rather really investing personal touch and communication within those that are saying they're interested and yielding at a really high rate like we did last year.
And I think one of the things this year that I've been excited about is that we've had folks in our marketing communication work with Steve and others in trying to do an alumni campaign, to get sons and daughters and that type of thing as well. One of the things that we found from within our student body, Malachi, you have to tell me exactly what the ratio of this, but one of the top yield prospects that we have is a sibling of a current student or the sibling of an alumni. So the individuals that are brother, sister right here in front of you, so nice job. So individuals that have experienced us firsthand, it's amazing how often the siblings see the experience, see what's taking place in their brother or sister, and want that same experience. And so, that's what's our when we begin to engage a sibling, the yield rate of that is
it's like plus 60%.
60% greater than if it's somebody that does not have a brother or sister that's attended. That's significant. That's great. Which goes to show that the experience that the students are getting here is fantastic. Right? That's what it demonstrates. And so it shows that what you're doing in creating an environment that is conducive to their growth and development is wonderful. And so thank you for your investment in that, because if they were coming here and they were getting something different than what we were telling them, their siblings would not be coming, right? But they're coming and they're experiencing that great academic rigor, and they're experiencing a community that really is unapologetic about its commitment to Christ, faculty, staff, students. And they're seeing the great value of the return on that investment. They're seeing that and experiencing that. So their siblings then are coming along and wanting that as well. We can keep asking questions about enrollment, but if you want to, we can broaden it as well. Did you?
Just talking about the value, we're trying to find the right balance between trying to find the sustainability of an organization and trying to not, price ourselves out of students' range, but at the same point being realistic and looking at the percentages and finding that we're way above other private institutions as far as affordability, and trying to find where we're not just getting a bunch of students, but we're actually having a solid foundation.
Yeah, let me walk through a little bit of that. So if you go back 2010 range, again, go to the Staymates study that said it didn't matter what you charge, you're going to get about the same amount of students, because the ones that really love you are going to come. A lot of these other people, they don't even know who you are. So whether you cost $7,000 or $27,000, they're not going to come. This study made the point that we could actually raise our tuition and yield better, which is kind of an interesting thing. So we're not going to push it to the extremes of what they had asked, but we are going to be able to. So you have your state, and you all know that you have your stated tuition price, right? And then you have your net tuition, which is what a student pays on average, right? And so over the course of the last 5 years, what we've actually experienced is a decrease in the net tuition. So 5-6 years ago, I think we were averaging somewhere in the neighborhood, net tuition around $11,500, $12,000 per student. Even though our tuition was $20,000, what they would actually pay, what we would receive, was in the neighborhood of around, right, this last year we're at $10,500. So not only has our student enrollment gone down, but the amount of money that we receive from that student in actual dollars has gone down. Well, that's not a sustainable model, right? And that, that's what we've been walking through. So what we found within this was that we could begin to shift tuition as well as the discounting scholarship piece of this, and begin to build up that net tuition per student again. And so not only are we using Noel Levitt's for the messaging going out to the broader audience, but we're also using Noel Levitt's again, which we had 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago when I came. We're at Noel Levitt's, and then we made a switch about 5, 6 years ago where we began to do a lot of the packaging in-house based upon a Noel Levitt model, but we just did it on our own, and that was the time where we began to see our discount rates go up and our net tuition revenue go down. And so we brought Noel Levitt's back into the process again, and they were very quick to say, I think here are some key places where you can begin to experience some net tuition growth again. So we're hopeful that will play itself out as Noel Levitt's begins to be more involved in the financial aid packaging part of this process. But you're right. So what I think it's okay if the board has approved, but we're looking at probably about 4.9, it's not completely totally set, but about 4.9% increase in the tuition rate. And what we'll do is also try to figure out how to then, through the Noel Levitt's process, decrease the discount rate so we can get back down to the low 50s, which I think is something that would be very helpful for us, which would generate a significant amount more revenue. What other questions would you have for me or members of the cabinet?
This question relates to natures. For some time we've been talking about the natures that we have added to the
Rob probably is the best one to respond to that.
Majors are routinely analyzed and looked at in terms of enrollment. And over this last 5 years that Brent's been talking about, that's a little complicated to go because of what he's been talking about, the 15% decline, and it's hard to say how much of that is 100% of that due to that decline, or is it the major becoming obsolete in the sense of your question. And we're in the process, one of the things that the task force is working on, probably their next project to come out, is a grid of about 10 or 12 metrics that will be packaged into a couple of final tally metric rating kinds of things to say, here are the numbers that need to be watched, here's where they're stacking up, and give some sense of viability within that major against revenues and expenses and student enrollments and that kind of thing. So it's an ongoing process, but it is an art, it's not a science. And it's, even as it said in that report, the availability of a major, that in some sense supports what many of you remember Matt doing and saying, like, I have more majors, against the reality of sometimes those majors cost more and there's not a valid return against that, and that juggling and sorting through that is sometimes a dance. But it is ongoing. There have been some that have been modified and combined so that there aren't as many iterations. It's not wholesale in the sense of lots of them being dropped, but they are being changed.
I'll give you a couple examples of what the group that Rob made reference to. I've identified 7 different faculty members that are looking at for efficiencies within the academic offerings and looking at for efficiencies within faculty loads and a variety of things. And they're doing a fantastic job. Rod is on that committee and is working diligently with them. But for instance, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we have either 4 or 5 different statistics classes. And so the question the committee's looking at is, why do we have 5 statistics classes when there's such crossover of information that is present? Why not have, because you probably do need some differences, a statistics class for a biochem major might be very different than for a social science major, right? But there are enough overlaps that maybe what we could do is pare that down. Now, I don't think we're at the place for a decision on this, but so let's examine, can we pare that down instead of having 5 different stats classes? What if we had 2? Or what if we had 3? So then what you do is you increase the amount of students in the classes because you're consolidating those classes and more efficient about able to offer. Or, I'll give you another example. I won't give it the full breadth, but so, yeah, well, let's go ahead and do it. So we take ministry. Let's take ministry students. They're coming in and they're studying, broadly they're studying pastoral ministry, but we have rec ministry, we have youth ministry, we have urban ministry, we've got geriatric ministry, I don't know geriatric, but we have all of these different ministry tracks, which then allow us, sure, that's terrible, Kevin.
Hey, I'm gonna pass you right.
So the question is there a way to allow our students to have enough flexibility that if they're really interested in urban ministry, they can have an emphasis in urban ministry, but it doesn't mean that it's a totally different program. So it's pastoral ministry that would have an urban ministry emphasis rather than a degree specifically in urban ministry. So that now we may come back and say, no, it needs to be as broad as it needs, that's what we have because that's the best way for us to service our students. But it may also come back and say, no, you know what, we can actually consolidate that major, all of those majors into one global major of pastoral ministry with having different tracks. So those are some of the things that are being examined and looked at along those lines.
I kind of equate it to radio listeners in that the number one thing that listeners of radio say, especially to a music formatted station, is you guys need to play more variety, right? Like I want more variety. What they're actually saying is not the quantity of the songs. They don't want you to play necessarily hundreds or thousands more songs. What they're saying is play more of the music that I like and that I'm interested in. And I think the same thing is true for our majors. We don't necessarily need to keep adding new majors. We need to make sure that what we're offering is what the marketplace desires. And so I think there's a lot of excitement over nursing being added this coming fall, and we're eagerly anticipating the initial approval for that to officially move forward. But we're committed to offering that starting this fall, and are really thrilled about that, because that's a cool, attractive program to people and for a number of reasons. And I think we just have to keep doing a really great job of working with our faculty and ensuring that what we're offering is what the marketplace desires.
I'll share what I think is a very exciting week that has taken place within our fundraising arena. So within the last week, we've had donors step forward to bring to conclusion a variety of different projects. First, let me just share this, that this isn't a donor stepping forward, but this is the long and significant work that Danny Lacey has done with a wonderful benefactor of the University, Jack Andrews. And so Jack Andrews passed away and is in eternity with God now, and so one of the things that we will receive from that is the ability to bring the full funding the Andrews Chair for Spiritual Formation. And so that'll be a fantastic additional piece of revenue that will go right into the endowment and make sure that our Andrews Chair is fully funded, which is a great gift. I think we all know of the gift of the Jaworski estate as well, that is allowing us to do the clinical spaces for our nursing and our PT programs that are coming forward. But one of the things that we just received in the last week notice of is that some needed renovations in our men's and women's varsity locker rooms has come through to be fully funded. And so, we had a gentleman, he and his wife stepped up to say, I want my money only to go to the men. I'll do all the men's renovations. And then we just had a wonderful lady who said, then I'll take care of the women. And so, fantastic thing. And so, Ryan and Ryan, so in basketball, both men's and women's basketball, and then also these are important things. When people are making decisions to come to the university, facilities are an important thing. And so this will allow our men's basketball locker room to be at a certain level of quality. So Cottingham, I'm talking about you. We get this done, we better start having some wins.
Yes, sir.
And then our ladies victorious over St. Francis again last night. So Ryan Frost doing a great job building that program. But what this will allow on the women's side is actually a designated locker room for women's basketball varsity and a designated space for women's varsity volleyball, which they have not had. They've shared space, and this will allow that designation to come in. It will be a wonderful gift to them. And then we also just on Monday received word from a wonderful family that is going to bring to full funding the tennis court renovation. And it's another $500,000 to $600,000 commitment on top of what we had already raised to be able to create it will be a world-class tennis facility. And so that was another fantastic gift that came through. And then word yesterday that a gentleman has decided that he would put the lead gift forward to a complete renovation of our outdoor track, so to bring it up to standards. I don't know if you've been on the track lately, it's pretty bad. And this will bring it back up to the standards that our track athletes deserve. We have over 100 track athletes. And right now, the indoor track and the outdoor track, they're just not in good shape. And so this will allow us, I think, to be even more effective in recruiting in those endeavors. So those are great work from our development staff on that. Any other questions? Things that we can answer? We are moving this week, had our first budget meeting moving into next year. So I think, Brian, who in here is on the budget committee that's walking through? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 of you in this room are on that. It's a group of about 40, 35, 55. Kevin keeps adding to the numbers. So, which is good. And so, so we'll begin that process leading into next, lead into a budget that will hopefully allow us to stay in the black again next year. This year looks like we will end the year in the black, which again is a thanks to all of you for your diligence and being able to figure out how do you continue to provide the type of service that we need to our students with fewer resources. That's where we've been. And so you've been able to do it. And so thank you very much for your diligence and your commitment along those lines. If there aren't any more, I'll open it up one more time. Happy to answer anything. All right. Who do I turn it over to? All right.
Okay, we're going to, Ron's going to do devotion today, but he's going to close in prayer real quick. Let's give a good thank you to President Ellis.
I was once invited to speak at Greenville College for a couple chapels. So as the chapel was started and it went on, I'm sitting there waiting for my turn to come up and speak. And the perimeter, the chapel lasted for 50 minutes, and the chapel, or the preliminaries lasted for 45 minutes. So when I got up, I just said, let's close in prayer. And I got in trouble because I didn't speak. So the next day I spoke 20 minutes too long, and I got in trouble. Can I give you a 1-minute devotion? I put Psalm 13 there in front of you. And it's probably one of the most frequent sections of scripture I use with students, mainly because it does a good job of saying that the object of our faith isn't our experience with God, it's simply God and God alone, regardless of our experience. And too often students expect the experience that almost the experience defines their faith. It's almost like their relationship with God defines God's relationship with them, rather than God's relationship with them defining their relationship with God. They get it backwards. And sometimes it's just hinged on that whole issue of what's my experience. It's almost like you say to somebody, how you doing spiritually? And they say, not so good. Guess what they'll describe? Their experience. So good experience, good faith. Bummer experience, bummer faith. And so I'll show them Psalm 13 where David says, how long, O Lord, will thou forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul? He was the king. Where did he usually take counsel? In the Lord. When he's going to the Lord, he's getting nothing. And then he gets even worse. How long will my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God, and lighten my eyes as I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemy exalt when I am shaken. Enemy say, I have overcome him, our adversaries will rejoice when I'm shaken. But look at David's response. Look at, how's he doing spiritually? What's his spiritual experience like? It would appear to be a disaster. But what's his response? But I have trusted in your loving kindness. I will rejoice, or I will sing to the Lord, and I will rejoice in your salvation. What in the world is David doing, trusting, rejoicing, and singing, when he's getting absolutely nothing from the Lord? Why is he doing that last verse? Why? Because the Lord has dealt bountifully with him. Is the Lord dealing bountifully with him now? Apparently not. But he has in the past, even though he's not now, with every assumption that he will in the future. And sometimes our students just need a bit of perspective. They get enough empathy, but sometimes they just need some perspective. And a lot of times our ministry here on campus is the ministry of perspective. Just to help students see their lives just a little differently. Because who can trust, rejoice, and sing to the Lord when everything's going fine? Anybody can. Big deal. It's like Jesus says, you love those who love you. Big deal. Anybody can love those who love them. But love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Because your experience doesn't define your faith. Your faith defines your experience. Always. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity that we have in this place to do this work with these co-workers, for these students, for your purpose, for your glory, and for your kingdom. Find us faithful in Jesus' name.